Saudi Arabia promised the impossible. A 170-kilometer city built in a straight line through the desert. No cars, no streets, no emissions. A mirrored megastructure housing 9 million people. They spent $50 billion. They moved mountains of sand. They displaced entire communities. And then, in September 2025, they stopped. This is the story of the most expensive failure in modern engineering. In January 2021, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman stood on stage and unveiled something that looked like science fiction. The Line, a city contained within 2 parallel buildings, each 500 meters tall, 200 meters wide, and 170 kilometers long. The walls would be covered in mirrors reflecting the surrounding desert. Inside, parks, schools, hospitals, stadiums, an entire civilization stacked vertically. No cars would be needed. An underground high-speed train would move residents from one end to the other in 20 minutes. Renewable energy would power everything. The city would run on AI. The promotional video showed children playing in floating gardens above the clouds. It looked like something from a movie. The project was part of NEOM, Saudi Arabia's $500 billion plan,
something between 50 to 55 million,
to build an entire futuristic region from scratch. NEOM also included Trojana, a ski resort in the desert mountains, Oxagon, a floating industrial port shaped like an octagon, and Sindala, a luxury island resort. The Line was the centerpiece, the most ambitious construction project ever proposed by any nation. The world's reaction was split. Architects called it visionary. Engineers called it impossible.
My immediate reaction was, what the hell is this?
And the internet called it insane. Engineers knew from day one that the Line had fundamental problems that no amount of money could solve. First, the wind. 2 parallel walls, 500 meters tall and only 200 meters apart, create a wind tunnel. Desert winds entering from either end would accelerate between the walls to dangerous speeds. Computational fluid dynamics simulations showed gusts exceeding 100 kilometers per hour in the interior spaces. Not a pleasant environment for the 9 million people living there. Second, the mirrors. A building covered in reflective glass in a desert with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius becomes a solar oven. The reflected sunlight would heat the ground between the buildings to lethal temperatures. Engineers proposed solutions, angled mirrors, selective coatings, but nothing eliminated the problem. Third, the foundation. The Line's path crosses multiple geological fault zones. A 170-kilometer structure must flex with seismic activity, but a rigid mirrored wall cannot flex. Earthquake engineers estimated the structural requirements would be unprecedented and potentially unsolvable. Fourth, the sheer logistics. Building the Line would require more steel than exists in global annual production. More concrete than was used in all of China's 3 gorges Dam, Burj Khalifa, and Panama Canal combined. The construction workforce would need to exceed 1 million people, and the timeline, Saudi Arabia originally said 2030.
In 2030,
engineers privately estimated 2060 at the earliest. The leaked internal audit said 2080. Despite the skepticism, construction began. Saudi Arabia doesn't wait for approval, it builds. By mid-2025, approximately 2.4 kilometers of foundation work had been completed. That's 1.4% of the total length. Satellite images showed enormous trenches cut into the desert, concrete foundations poured, and temporary worker camps stretching for miles. The scale of even this small fraction was enormous. Mountains were leveled, valleys were filled, roads were built into terrain that had never been touched by human hands. The workforce peaked at tens of thousands, laborers from South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Africa. But then the Wall Street Journal obtained an internal audit from NEOM. The numbers were devastating. Total projected cost to completion, $8.8 trillion. Not billion. Trillion. For context, that's more than the entire GDP of Japan, more than the GDP of Germany, France, and the United Kingdom combined. No entity on Earth, not even Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, could finance this. The audit also revealed that the project was burning through cash at an unsustainable rate. The original budget allocation had been exhausted, and the construction was barely visible on satellite imagery compared to the planned scope. Behind the engineering failure lies a darker story. Members of the Howeatat tribe had lived in the NEOM region for generations. When construction began, they were ordered to leave. Most complied, some didn't. Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti, a tribal leader, posted videos on social media refusing to relocate. In 2020, Saudi security forces killed him during what the government called an exchange of fire. Human rights organizations called it an execution. At least 3 other Howeatat tribe members have been sentenced to death for resisting relocation. Dozens more received prison sentences of 15 to 50 years. And then there were the workers. Reports from human rights groups documented conditions at NEOM construction camps. Overcrowding, confiscated passports, wages delayed for months. Workers described 12-hour shifts in 45-degree heat with inadequate water. At least 1 worker death was publicly reported, though the actual toll is believed to be much higher. Saudi Arabia has dismissed these reports as exaggerations, but the pattern is consistent with labor conditions documented across Gulf construction megaprojects for decades. In September 2025, construction on the line was officially suspended, but Saudi Arabia didn't announce it with a press conference. There was no admission of failure. Instead, the narrative quietly shifted. NEOM's other projects suddenly took center stage. Sindala, the luxury island resort, actually opened in late 2025. Trojena continued construction for a planned 2029 Asian Winter Games. And most significantly, NEOM pivoted toward something completely different: artificial intelligence. The same infrastructure built for the line, power generation, fiber optic cables, cooling systems, could serve AI data centers. And suddenly, the project that was supposed to be a futuristic city became a potential home for server farms. Saudi Arabia began positioning NEOM as a hub for AI development, partnering with international tech companies. It's a smart pivot. AI data centers need remote locations with abundant energy. The Saudi desert has exactly that. And unlike a 170-kilometer mirrored city, data centers are technology we actually know how to build. The line hasn't been officially cancelled. Saudi Arabia insists it's rephrased. A smaller version may still be built someday. But the 170-kilometer dream, the 9 million residents, the city above the clouds, that's over. The line is not the first mega project to collapse under its own ambition. History is full of examples. In the 1930s, the Soviet Union planned the Palace of the Soviets, a 415-meter tower in Moscow, taller than the Empire State Building, topped with a 100-meter statue of Lenin. Boom! Construction began. The foundation was poured. Then World War II happened. The steel was repurposed for tank traps, and the site became a swimming pool for the next 50 years. In 1928, German architect Hermann Sörgel proposed Atlantropa, a plan to dam the Mediterranean Sea, lower its level by 200 meters, and create new land for European colonization of Africa. He spent 25 years promoting it. No one built it. In the 1990s, Japan proposed Shimizu Megacity Pyramid, a 2-kilometer tall pyramid in Tokyo Bay housing 750,000 people. The technology didn't exist. It was shelved. The pattern is always the same: a leader with unchecked power or unlimited resources. engineers who are incentivized to say yes, a budget that exists only in presentations, and a reality that physics refuses to negotiate. The line fits this pattern perfectly. The only difference is the price tag. At $50 billion actually spent, it's the most expensive unfulfilled vision in human history. As of 2026, NEOM is still spending money. The organization still employs thousands of people. The master plan hasn't been officially abandoned, just recalibrated. But the signals are clear. Job listings for line-specific positions have disappeared. International architects and engineering firms that were contracted for the line have been reassigned to other NEOM projects. And Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund, has quietly redirected capital toward investments that actually generate returns: sports, gaming, tourism, and AI. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has not publicly addressed the line's suspension. In Saudi Arabia, you don't publicly acknowledge failure. You rebrand it. The 2.4 kilometers of foundation will probably be repurposed. The worker camps will be dismantled. And the desert, which has existed for millions of years without a 170-kilometer mirrored wall, will continue to exist without one. $50 billion, 2.5 kilometers, and a lesson that even unlimited money cannot override the laws of physics. If this story surprised you, wait until you see what's happening in Texas, where someone is spending $500 billion on a project that might actually work. That video is right here. Subscribe if you want to understand the engineering that shapes our world. We'll see you in the next one.